It's the Empowered Target. This is my dad's blanket from the Marine Corps. I inherited it when he passed away. He was a very proud Marine. So I thought I would display that. I'm going to read an article written by Rob Endure about gang stalking. It's called East German Secret Police Invented Zehrsitzung. Corrupt feds recreated it as gang stalking. In a typical gang stalking situation, the target will not usually be aware of their assailants right away, and will at first think that the events and activities that begin to take place are just coincidental. But over the days or weeks, they will begin to suspect that something unusual is going on. A target of gang stalking may first become aware that someone seems to be entering their residence whenever they go out, and then they might also begin to suspect that they're being constantly watched by their neighbors, by people on the street, and perhaps even with hidden cameras and microphones in their residence. Further, the targeted person may experience many seemingly coincidental but otherwise odd little events in their day-to-day life that eventually leads them to consider that these events are all contrived and that they involve certain people who work or live around them. They may then begin to wonder if they're being targeted for some particular reason, whether or not there's any possible reason for being targeted. Over time, they'll find out that these events are indeed purposeful, and this will succeed in drawing their attention to the fact that something sinister is definitely afoot. The purpose of these events at this early point is to initiate paranoia and anxiety in the target. They want you in a state of anxiety, fear, paranoia, panic, and terror, so that you act irrationally in public, giving them a reason to label you as unstable or dangerous. We're dealing with terrorists and psychological serial killers. I need to take a little sip. I know this is a disturbing topic. I do my best to present it in the least triggering way as possible. But there's no way around it. This stuff is pure evil, and it's not fun to learn about. But for targets, learning about it is empowering to understand that we can know what is happening and why we feel the way we do. We can then try to gain control over our inner situation through emotional willpower and control. Just know if you're a TI, you need to protect your energy. Only read stuff like this when you feel strong and ready to absorb the information. Because if you're already in distress or anxiety, the truth about this program can make it worse. So check yourself and make sure you're in the right frame of mind. I personally recommend true faith in God and a relationship with Him. I doubt that I'd be able to do any of what I do without Him. Protect your energy, pay attention to your state, and don't dive into too much info unless you're ready or feeling strong enough for it. I learned this the hard way. McKinney stated that the objective is to force the individual to commit an act of violence, whether suicide or murder, under conditions which can be plausibly denied by the government. The antagonistic public mobbing of a target is apparently intended to provoke an outburst, so they may end up incarcerated or institutionalized. Please don't give them what they want, he says. Flipping out is not worth it. Do your best just to ignore them and seek God's faith. The purpose is to completely isolate and remove all social support, economic support, and if possible to drive these targets to suicide. Isolation of the individual from members of his or her immediate family is virtually assured, proclaimed McKinney, when highly focused forms of electronic harassment commence. Other objectives appear to be to separate a person from friends and family, keep them unemployed, induce homelessness, and reduce the quality of life, so much so that they suffer a nervous breakdown and end up medicated or hospitalized. McKinney added that other long-term objectives of these harassment campaigns appears to be to induce a sense of perverted loyalty toward the very agencies engaged in the individual's harassment. Moving to a completely new location will not stop this. All normal escape mechanisms have been removed in all of the NATO countries. Reportedly, even when hospitalized, targets are still harassed, referring to the futility of moving to another location, McKinney said. Your protocol follows you wherever you go, so it's a waste of time. All of these harassment techniques are recurrent. They're non-sequential, and they're overlapping, proclaimed Moret. And basically, it's forever. They never leave you alone again. You're even followed out of the country. It happens in other countries. Interestingly, if someone under investigation killed himself, most within the sphere of the person's life would probably think this happened because they had something to hide, not because they were repeatedly injured and tortured. Therefore, bogus investigations may also provide a cover for an induced suicide by creating the appearance of a guilty conscience. Suicide might also qualify as staged accidents, particularly where plausibly deniable government involvement has been surfaced. They also want you to develop Stockholm Syndrome. It's a psychological condition that occurs when a victim develops a bond with their captor or abuser. You do not deserve to be tortured. Do not adopt this mentality. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. You are being tortured by a satanic human trafficking cult who are disguised as angels of light to the brainwashed public. And then he says, I do not like using this word, but by dictionary definition, you are a victim. But God says you are a victor. They truly want you to believe that you're the monster while they continually do horrible things to you, mockingly asking, where's your God? It's a terrible, cruel humiliation ritual and gaslighting ritual. It's all brainwashing. God does not approve at all of the stuff that they're doing. If you see a mental health professional as a result of this covert violence, you may be misdiagnosed with a mental disorder. People with mental disorders are stereotypically seen as incompetent and violent, according to a report entitled Stigma of Mental Illness Still Exists by the Center for Advancement of Health. Zersitzung is German for decomposition and disruption. It's a psychological warfare technique used by the Ministry for State Security, or the Stasi, to repress political opponents in East Germany during the 70s and 80s. It served to combat alleged and actual dissidents through covert means, using secret methods of abusive control and psychological manipulation to prevent anti-government activities. People were commonly targeted on a preemptive and preventive basis to limit or stop activities of dissent that they may have gone on to perform, and not on the basis of crimes they had actually committed. Zersitzung methods were designed to break down, undermine, and paralyze people behind a facade of social normality in a form of silent repression. So, this is a long article. I'm going to stop here. You all get the idea. You stay safe and sane. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and feel free to leave me a comment. Till next time.